You know, just before I sat down to record this, I saw a TikTok. And by a TikTok, I mean an Instagram reel. But I have now generalized the term TikTok to mean anything short-term, short form content, much like your aging parents have now generalized text messaging and emailing to just call it email. Oh yeah, did you email them? You mean sent a text to the group chat? Oh yeah, same diff. No fam. Nice. You hear the cats? Hello, ladies, men, non-binary friends, girls, gays, and theys. Welcome to the latest installment, this March and April review of What Knitting Taught Me with Caleb. My name is Caleb, he, him. And on Instagram, I am Caleb9513. And on Ravelry, Caleb Jeffrey 13. We're a mess here. It is April 29th, local yarn store day 2023. The cats are wilding out. They just had dinner. And there's a storm rolling in. I've been meaning to record this all day, but I had other things to do that then sent me down a deep dive of inspiration, aspiration, and maybe a little bit of crying. Anyway, I'm going to try and record this before my Instacart delivery gets here, because nothing is more embarrassing than sitting in front of the giant window at the front of your home when somebody walks up to your home with the groceries that you were too lazy to go and get yourself, and they're just watching you make a YouTube video. Or like whenever there's another delivery service, or like DoorDash or something, I'm having something delivered, I always like hide because I'm a little ashamed, like, oh, look at you, you went out and worked, and here I am just sitting on my couch playing Stardew Valley. And that's what I prioritized over literally sustaining my life. Now that is some allegory. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. I've got the animals here with me. There's a storm rolling in, like something is brewing and about to begin. There's a wind, what is it? There's a wind from the east. No, there's a chill from the east. There's a wind blowing in, like something is brewing and about to begin. What's that from? I haven't done this in a long time, so I've kind of forgotten how to start one of these things. Let's see, I already introduced myself. Let me explain where I've been. So, hi, my name is Caleb, and I'm in graduate school for my second graduate degree, a doctorate in education, a doctor of education in curriculum and instruction from the University of Kansas School of Education, the Department of Curriculum and Teaching. And I had quantitative research methods this semester, and it killed my soul. Statistics is not math. Descriptive statistics, for that matter, simply use numbers to describe relationships, which I would argue and will argue here at the end of this episode when I do a little bit of thesis dissertation chat, that all numbers just describe space. So maybe I guess statistics is math, but it's not a math that I enjoy. There's too many names for things. It's like geometry. Geometry is just a big definition and vocabulary unit. So I've been very busy. A lot of my extra time has been devoted to reading for that class, to working in our statistical analysis software, and generally cathartic screaming into our group chat. So, wow, I am so rambly today. I'm gonna try and focus. Thank you all for subscribing. On the last episode, I saw a huge uptick of views and subscribers. We are almost at 200 subscribers. The last video got almost 1,000 views, which is just cool. Usually I average around 50 views. So to see that one go somewhat viral by my standards, that was really cool. So keep doing whatever you did. I think the algorithm was suggesting me to folks after they watched James and Watts's podcast. They're very much, I feel like we're very much in the same plane there. So in fact, I have a pattern of theirs to talk about. Yeah, I'm just gonna give you a preview of printer ran out of ink and made demons in my home. So anyway, all that to say, thank you for being here. I'm so glad you're here. I have a little bit more energy today to do some editing, hopefully.
Hell yeah, you did, baby.
So I will do that. I got some positive feedback about the editing last time. And yeah, so let's just go ahead and get started with, have I finished anything? No, I haven't. But I have cast on and almost finished a pair of socks. I have fucked up a baby blanket and started a brioche hat because I fucked up the baby blanket at knit night, and have worked through the increases of a sweater nearly and started a new fiber craft. Plus, hi, I'm a farmer now. I've started playing Stardew Valley, and who knew that those little 8-bit farmers could bring so much joy and de-stress to my life, but they did. Anyway, so let's talk about knitting. Oh my God, I guess I do have a finished object-ish. Last time, if you'll recall, I was working on Cordy, which is a sweater out of the Moon and Turtle book. And I was using my dad's yarn along with hedgehog fiber Tweedy, which is black, and my dad's yarn is yarniculture, like horticulture. But anyway, so I was working on the Cordy, and like I liked it, but you may have remembered me saying something about like not liking the way superwash yarn works up, and especially in color work. And I stand by that. Even though I am knitting a superwash sweater now, it's not color work. So that's why I'm giving, I don't need to justify myself, Barb. Anyway, here's Cordy. Here's how far I got on her. Fun, so fun, love. She's a runner, she's a track star, but she's not my vibe.
And I'm just gonna start off by saying, like, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. If you know, you know. And if you don't know, like, I honestly feel bad for you. Like, I cannot explain it. Like, I don't have the vocabulary to sit here and explain. Like, either you get the vibe or you don't get the vibe.
I know. Beautiful and in your face and lovely and wonderful. But if I'm being honest, oh, Baxter, don't start, baby. If I'm being honest, I want to show you something, okay? So, oh, that's a good video depiction of what I'm going to talk about. Do you see the difference in fiber quality and type? And by quality, I mean like descriptive quality, not like condition or value. But I am more inclined to enjoy a fiber that is like this hedgehog fibers. It's just woolly, it's got space around the fibers, but the fibers then fill it in. Whereas the superwash is just flat, right? Super soft, super luxurious, but it doesn't give me dimension, volume. There's nowhere to stuff my secrets.
That's why her hair is so big. It's full of secrets.
Right? So, unfortunately, and maybe, no, not unfortunately, I was knitting this as a sample anyway for, cat just sneezed, for my dad's, I guess I should say my parents, because mom is doing a lot of like behind the scenes stuff. Bruce dyes the yarn, Bonnie does admin. What was I saying? What was I saying? Oh yes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish with a couple rows of the black and then bind off. And they can use this as a sample. I mean, because it's basically the whole colorwork chart, right? Basically. And you can put it on your body as like this cool like shoulder cape thing, right? See, I just look like an Easter egg. I don't think it's cute. I don't think it's for me. And I love this hedgehog Tweety so much that as I was knitting this and thought, this sweater just isn't my vibe, it kind of hurt a little bit that this yarn was in here because I love it so much. Wow, it's making me sound like I hate my dad's yarn. I don't. I love the yarn. It's just not the project for me to pair with this, especially. This needs to be a sweatshirt, right? It needs to be something you sit at home with your, if you're the coffee type, with your cup of coffee in the morning that you pull over your wrists and you drink your coffee and you go, or like if you're me, you sit in your little huddle and read like this, okay? It needs to be that kind of vibe. This is not that vibe. No, it's not. So anyway, all that to say, I'm counting this as a finished object because I'm gonna bind it off. I already have the black wound up, so I'm going to cast it on ASAP. It's either going to be a cozy classic raglan or a Lento sweater, but we'll talk about Lento here in a little bit. I may be Lentoed out. So that's that. Also on my needles is a bulky brioche hat, brioche beanie. I think I like this side better, which is technically the reverse. I'll show it to you. So yeah, this is just 1x1 brioche rib that I cast on without a pattern, just cast it on to knit in the round. Let's see, these are size 13 needles that I've just been barking and burping with.
If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. If you know, you know.
This yarn is Malabrigo Chunky. Great. Is it superwash? I'm sure it is, the way that it feels. Did you hear that? That was the wind. We're in a wind advisory. It just says 100% merino wool, so maybe not a superwash. And it has a ply, but it feels like a single ply, so maybe it's because it's so thick with 2 C's. That's why it feels like there's a single ply. But I'm really liking it. I don't know if it's gonna stay this. This was just something mindless I cast on because I fucked up a blanket. Because I was trying to do lace and talk, and I just can't do that. But the colors, I guess I can tell you, Azul Bolita is the blue. Bolita, what does Bolita mean? Blue something. Bolita. Bolita. Hey Siri, what does bolita mean in Spanish?
In Spanish,
No, not
bonita is bonita.
not bonita. I know. Do you feel bonita? Because you look bonita.
In Spanish, balada is balada.
I will Google and put a definition down here. Watch it be like a toucan or something. And then we have Frank Ochre, because it's one of the best yellows out there. So that's that. I cast it on just to have something, and I need to decide if I'm going to continue be that or not. There's a new pattern out that's like modular knit mittens with like fingerless gloves, I guess, fingerless mittens, that I think would work with, or I might just like improvise something, who knows. So that's that. Now let me talk a little bit about this blanket, okay? So this is for a friend that had a bebe, I think about a week, 2 weeks ago now. And I want to get this done because I like the way that it looks, and I just like bringing joy to people. Plus it's a gift. But anyway, it's the Bounce Blanket by tincanknits. And I'm doing it out of Neighborhood Fiber Co., the Studio DK, in their Bejeweled Rainbow, or the Jewel Tone Rainbow mini set, DK mini set. Okay, beautiful, gorgeous, never been done before. But do you see what I did? Wow, doesn't that look like ass? It's because it does, and it's because this is what it was supposed to look like. When you order it online, from Wish and it gets here 6 months later. So I don't want to rip the purple all the way back, because what I did was I tried to like drop down and fix it on the needles, and then it just got worse, and I was like, oh my god. Hence the like buying needles and 2 balls of yarn to make a brioche hat that I don't know that I'm going to continue to make the brioche hat, because it was at the beginning of knit night. So what I think I'm going to do is take just the repeat off the needles, and you're looking at the back side. Just take the repeat off the needles, okay? Pin it onto a blocking mat. Unravel all of it, and then just knit up and do it that way. Will it take about as much time as it would to just pull out the stripe? Probably. But I also kind of want to just do it. But also like, just pull out the fucking stripe. I don't know, I'm indecisive. That's why when I did this like a month ago, I put it away and haven't picked it up yet. Again. So anyway, hopefully this gets finished soon. It's been beautiful spring weather here in Kansas City, and this I feel would just be like the perfect stroller blanket right now. But I gotta get my shit in a group, together, and get that finished. So, Bounce Blanket by tincanknits. Can you tell that there for about 4 days I didn't have my Adderall and cast on a bunch of things? Update. This time I didn't have to go to Wichita to get my prescription filled, but I did just have to wait for my pharmacy to get it in stock, because my doctor was like, dude, I can't keep writing these scripts and bounce it around pharmacies, because Adderall is a controlled substance. Like, you can't just transfer it in the app. It's a nightmare. So I just waited it out. But what the pharmacist told me is that things are getting better with supply issues. So fingers crossed. What was this? It was a snap. Did you know that the snap sound comes from your finger smacking the fatty part of your thumb and not the like friction from here? Like things you learn on TikTok. Oh my God, did I finish my statement about peonies in TikTok? Before I sat down, the dogs were outside pooping and I saw this TikTok / Instagram reel. I call reels TikToks because much like your parents have generalized any form of digital communication that is in text to be an email, I have generalized any short form content that you consume by doing this to be a TikTok. But it's really an Instagram reel. Anyway, this man was from the South, and I'm not going to attempt a Southern accent, although I think our Southwestern Kansas Midwest accent can skew that way, and that's something I try to work very hard against for reasons. Wow, focus, Caleb. But he was like, here's how you pick peonies. And I was like, excuse me, sir, what? Peonies? And then he goes, or as you Northerners say it, peonies. And I was like, yeah, because that's the word, peonies. Oh my goodness. Where did that word come from? Peony. Anyway, I was floored. Peony. Does that word even have meaning anymore? Potato, tomato, tomato. Peony. Look at my new bag. From Mrs. Brown's Bags. Jody has somebody sewing these for her now. And the only reason I got this is because I like the style. And it's in one of my favorite Frankie gray fibers colors, Winter in New York, which you'll see here in a minute. But it's a sock size project bag. I mean, I'm using it as a sock size project bag. It could probably hold a shawl. It could hold the beginning of a sweater. You decide. It can hold your textbooks. It can hold your dead cat's ashes. I don't know. You can put whatever you want in it. And what I've put in it is a DK sock. And that DK sock is Woolens and Nosh, Butterfly, Supernova, Casanova, Galaxy, something to do with space. It is last month's installment of the Yarn of the Month Club from Woolens and Nosh. One of my favorite people, one of my favorite dyers, probably my favorite self-striping hand dyer. Retract, definitely my favorite self-striping hand dyer. I thought that was a person. Did you see me shit my pants? Yikes! So, sock number 1. Now, I got big feet that I'm not going to show on the internet for free. Now, if you would like to pay for that content, let me know. I'll get you my Twitter. I mean, that's where that exchange would happen. I don't have a foot Twitter. Maybe I should, but I have large feet, size 16, 15 and a half, 16. All that to say, every bit of yarn is precious. Okay, so I couldn't pull out for, we don't need another one of these. Couldn't pull out for a repeat to get back to my beginning color here. So I just started with the offset on the second one. So they'll be offset by, I thought of it as like the cools and the warms. I've offset it that way, and the way that it's dyed is it has this star stripe in between each. This sock is up for its heel flap and gusset. I haven't done a heel flap and gusset in a while, and I make the gussets too small the way that I did this. So what I did is I did like a, not short row. Yeah, I guess short row where you like do like thirds-ish, and then you just purl together on the side. So you're just taking that like flap and sewing it to the bottom, I guess. And then you don't end up with a lot of stitches to pick up on the gusset, or to like close up on the gusset, which defeats the purpose of doing a heel flap. So you can see my gusset is teeny tiny, and I don't like that. So on the next pair, I will rectify that. But for this pair, it works just fine. Also on the next pair, I will use larger needles, like a larger gauge. These are my 8-inchers. I love double pointed needles. If ever you want to be generous, send me double pointed needles in sock sizes. Oh my God, I love double pointed needles. These are my Knit Pro Zings. In the 8 inches, and in the 8 inches, they only come to you via Not America. So it only has the millimeters, the metric measurement there, which is a 3 millimeter, which is not a US 3. I know this now. US 3 is a 3.25, I believe. No, 3.5. 3.25 would be a 2.5 US. What I'm using is a US 2, and that's just a little dense. So I'm gonna go up to a 3 next time, which would be a US 3.5 millimeter needle. And no, not a US 3.5 millimeter, a 3.5 millimeter needle, which is a US 3. And I think that will, I mean, this is a, that was a thick sock. It's gorgeous. I'm so excited to wear it and get these done. And they would be done, but I got distracted by something. But I cast this on just immediately the day that I got it. And I'm wanting to do that with Michelle Woolens and Nosh, her yarn club, because it's just beautiful, and it's too beautiful to just sit in a box. Like so much of her yarn that I have right now, I need to knit through it. Gorgeous. I got this month's, and I'll show it to you next time, but it's very, it reminds me, and I'll see if I can find a picture like on the internet of this couch, because I'm sure it's a very specific couch. But my grandparents had a couch in their house on Avenue A? No, on, it wasn't on Hart. It was that house in between Avenue A, after Avenue A and Reagan Road, family who's watching. Like the early 90s house, or my idea of early 90s, mid 90s house. If you know, let me know. But the couch was a woven fabric, and it had greens and rosy pinks and stony taupes, and it was dolls. Or maybe it was just underneath a painting of dolls, but my grandma loved dolls. Collected dolls. Dolls. Madame Alexander's, Barbies, creepy ones, Precious Moments, On Rise, Fontaninis. If it was collectible and anthropomorphized a toy, my grandmother probably had it. Anyway, why did I start that? The yarn colorway reminds me of that couch. Here I am telling you about Axis power dolls that my grandmother had in her home, and they are somewhere. Yikes. Anyway. I mentioned Winter in New York, the colorway, right? I showed you a wound up ball of this yarn, but I don't just have a wound up ball. I don't just have a couple or thrice a wound up ball. Nay, nay. I have 4 wound up balls and 3 unwound hanks. For, you guessed it, my new favorite raglan sweater, the Lento. That reminds me of soup, and I still don't know how I feel about it. I am so glad, though, that I made that comment, because I am not alone. Not alone in my feelings about this. Plus, my bestie Nathaniel pointed out that Lento in Spanish means slow, like how you cook soup, because you gotta let the meat and vegetables sweat. I'm going to a PowerPoint party, and I'm trying to decide on a topic, and it's either gonna be how soup is just meat and vegetables sweat, or how having teeth is the literal worst thing to happen to humanity. I'm being hyperbolic, of course, but like, fuck teeth. Anyway, I'm knitting a Lento, my second Lento in Frankie Gray Fibres. Oh! Winter in New York. Look at it. Look at this and tell me it's not gorgeous. I'm showing you the back. It has short rows. Look at me and you're gonna look at me and tell me that I'm wrong.
The Wicked Witch of the East, bro!
I'm gonna stab him.
You're gonna look at me and you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong? Am I wrong?
She came down in a fucking bubble, Doug.
She wore a crown and she came down in a bubble, Doug!
I'm not fighting with you.
Grow up,
I'm not
bro!
fighting with you.
Grow up!
I just love it. It's like this greeny beige with flecks of copper and purple and blue, and one of these skeins, because I'm alternating skeins, had a blip of pink in it, and I went, bitch, what? There it is. Do you see her? And I don't see her anywhere else. And I like that. Too bad it's on the back of the sweater. And honestly, looking at this, I like the way the color is distributed on the back a lot more than I'm liking it on the front, but the front is still gorge, sis. But like, that's the back, okay? Amazing. Front. Similarly amazing, but there's not as much color over here. Oh well. It's gorgeous. Now, rewind to about 25 minutes ago when I was saying, I don't like superwash yarn because it's blah, 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 and because I don't like the way that it looked knitted at that gauge and color work, because I thought it was too loose. I thought it was knitting, it was like knitting with fingering weight yarn on a giant needle. And that's basically what I'm doing now. Granted, this is a DK weight yarn, but I feel like superwash yarn, it just gets so stripped of its essence. Although this does have kind of a halo, but I think it's more from like wear and tear in my bag than anything. It just gets stripped of its essence. I've been meaning to sit up because I did not want you to see that mess back there. I rearranged my back table so that I can see, my dining room table, so that I can see the TV when I do my little puzzles. My little puzzles on the TV. Little puzzles on the table. God damn. But anyway, I like this because it's not color work. I like this because it's meant to be a not so warm garment. I like this because it's meant to be like droopy, like melted candle wax. I'm actually even thinking, I usually do 18 inches from the armpit to the cast off. I'm thinking even doing 20 inches this time. Now I do know superwash when blocked will grow, so I need to chill. Maybe do a swatch. Chill. That's what I'm gonna do first. and see what kind of growth I get, because I don't want it to be huge. But being a tall, thick bitch, it's difficult to find clothing that you can do that like cute half tuck with without it looking like you accidentally just stuffed your shirt into the waistband of your Calvin Kleins. You know what I mean? And I'm hoping I can knit something in this stunning color and pattern. That can give me that effect. That's why we make our own clothes, right? This is living in a bag that my mom got me from the Renninger Wool Company. I have no idea the origin, the background, the whatever about this. She said she saw it on the Grocery Girls. I also watched the Grocery Girls. I don't remember seeing this, but I also was probably doing statistics homework and crying when they talked about it. So this is a stamp of one of their sheep. Okay, and I'm gonna paint a picture for you. Winnie Woolly Buns. Imagine our surprise when Pearl, an all-white merino ewe, gave birth to a black and white spotted lamb. Born on a frigid January morning, Winnie quickly warmed our hearts with her silly antics and lovable demeanor. Winnie. She's a goofy little misfit, just like me. And guess what? My mom has the bag of her mom, Pearl. Wow, what a story that tells. So yeah, that's my next Lento sweater. I have a couple more things that I want to talk about. I'm gonna save my new Firecraft for next time. It's, hint, latch hooking, because I was depressed. But I do want to talk about, oh my God, Baxter, shut up. Some patterns real quick. I've been saying shut up a lot because I'm trying to describe to my kids, my third graders, what the difference is between like in sarcasm, because a lot of them emulate sarcasm. They don't understand it though. So they see things and will be like, what, it's just a joke. But really they're like roasting to the point of burning, to the point of scalding, to the point of melting, to the point of creating an ashen wasteland that their classmates' tears that they then generate cannot replenish. So I've been saying shut up a lot. And they yell back at me, much like Baxter has. So I'll be right back. Okay, hey, I'm back. Turns out Baxter was alerting me to the DoorDash delivery. And that there was Ben and Jerry's on the porch melting. Priorities. I'm gonna say hey. You don't have a choice. Hi. I love this little man. He has become very destructive in his old age, not because of anything he chooses to do. He does not want to sit on my lap, and I don't blame him. I know, it is so windy here. So if you don't know this, Kansas City, Kansas especially, is like a city plopped down in the middle of a forest, okay? This whole Missouri-Kansas River confluence, oh my God, imagine that, where two rivers converge. Hey, there's lots of trees. What? I still can't do it. Anyway, I just let the dogs out, me, and let Phil in. Phil is the street cat, remember, belongs to the streets. Jennifer, take it away.
I don't want nobody fucking with me in these streets. Sing, children.
Lots of trees around my house. And am I a negligent homeowner in knowing that I got these big, giant, probably thousands of years old trees, not thousands, definitely hundreds of years old. I mean, these bitches are thick, and like they got thick stumps, 2 C's, 2 P's with a Z at the end, stumps. And like I leave the branches because they're beautiful. They're these overhanging, I think they're oak trees. But like, am I negligent in like, cause I'm watching them and I'm like, these motherfuckers are gonna fly here pretty soon. Especially in the alley, cause I don't have covered parking. And there are some even more overgrown trees back there. Because I don't have covered parking, if I let the trees kind of like grow over, how cute would that be? Like, get a really long branch and like tie it to my fence and then just have like a nature garage. Very cottagecore. Anyway, am I negligent? Is this insurance fraud? Because like I need a new roof and I would like a new car. And if, oh no, a tree just happened to fall on my roof or my car. Oops. Is that insurance fraud? You tell me. Anyway, before I got up, I was going to talk about some cast-ons that I want to do. Then I will talk a little bit about reading, watching, playing. And then I have a big chunk, not a big chunk, hopefully, just some thoughts that I've been marinating, processing, chewing, that I want to regurgitate onto you. I want to mama bird this into you and get some feedback, or just some jovial discussion. So anyway, let's get back on task. Caleb, have you seen this? What in the camp fuckery is this?
What the fuck is going on in here on this day?
Okay, like, first of all, it's called Nay! And there's fucking horses on it. I mean, come on. It's camp. Here's another picture. Okay, this is by Boyland Knitworks, Caitlin Hunter. I have some opinions about Caitlin Hunter. We don't need to discuss them here. If you want to know, send me a message. But when I saw this, I was like, I need it. So, if you didn't know, in my previous life as a child, I was a horse kid. Like, not even a horse kid, a horse girl. I read the books. I had the Breyer collectibles. You can still see some horse influence on my decor. As an adult, I've moved on to cattle. But anyway, and so when I saw this, I just, come on. Now, I already know what yarn I'm gonna use. This will be my next cast on after the Lento is finished. And now that I say that, I just thought of another sweater quantity that's in that bin that could also work. So this is either gonna use a sweater quantity of Terra Chroma Cult's DK BFL that I have, where it would be gray, brown, and green. Or I do have some Antelopes in brown and white. And how stunning would this be? I mean, I could omit the crosses if I didn't have enough white. But how stunning would that be? Maybe that's what I need to do. And just like live out my horse girl fantasy. Anyway, Nay by Caitlin Hunter, coming at you soon. Also, sometime this summer, using Holstgarn Coast, that I have a cone of, is the Dappled Lace Raglan by James N. Watts. I showed this at the beginning, but my printer let demons into my house. So, yay. Love that. Also, maybe but see, here's my quandary. Is it wasteful to print off the color? Because it wasn't the color that ran out. It's the black and white that ran out, or the black that ran out. And I have a color printer, so use it. You know what I mean? Plus, when I print out patterns, I put them into a sleeve that then goes into a binder. So it's like, I like to have them nice. I like to have them looking nice. But anyway, Dappled lace raglan. I don't know if you can tell. I will be knitting probably the long sleeve version that James is modeling. Definitely not cropped. Maybe a short sleeve, full length version. I don't know, but I really liked it. It's their latest design, and yeah. Here's maybe that's a better, I mean, it's definitely a better picture. Can you see the lace better? I don't know. But yeah, I like lace knitting. And that honestly looks simple enough. It doesn't look too complicated. I just don't want to get tired of it. You know what I mean? Know what I'm saying? Anyway, that's coming at you soon. Reading, watching, listening to, and playing. Listen to Michelle Obama's latest book, The Light We Carry. Very inspirational, especially for my fiber friends. She talks about knitting and how important it is to her. And she uses it for this beautiful metaphor about life and the pandemic and slowing down and taking pride in the things that you do. And it's just very beautiful. It's the very first chapter of her book. If you don't read anything else by her, read that chapter. The book is definitely more self-helpy than her first book, Becoming, where that's more of a memoir. This one does have stories interspersed, but this book definitely has more of like a, so then this is what I do when I feel like this. And I've taken some stuff away from it. For example, she talks about how one of her friends, every morning, her husband looks in the mirror and says, "Hey, glad you're here," or something like that, like looking good or something like that. First thing he does every morning. And I've tried that. It's not the first thing I've done every morning, but on my way to work, there's a beautiful, because I live pretty close to the city, like I'm within, not spitting distance, but definitely like projectile vomit distance from the city. I'm disgusting, I know. Fire! And every morning as I drive to work, usually it's around 7:10, 7:15, 7:40 if I'm running late and just really don't want to be there. Then I look over to my right and there's the beautiful Kansas City skyline. Now, for a little weird kid from southwestern Kansas, looking over and seeing that every morning, it's just like, bitch, you did that. You did that. You left. And I know it's still the middle of America and it's Kansas City, Missouri. Like, we didn't go far. We didn't go to New York, Chicago, LA, Portland, Maine. I mean, we didn't venture too far away from the tree, but I'm still really proud of myself. So every morning when I drive by, I go, you did it. And oh my God, my therapist cried. She was so proud of me. And honestly, I'm a little proud of myself too. So anyway, The Light We Carry by Michelle Obama. And then I read Verity. I get it. There are different strokes for different folks. and spoiler, but if your stroke is heinous, disgusting writing about how you ignored your twins because you didn't want to be a mom and you tried to suffocate one of them with your fingers, if that's your stroke, I hated Verity. I don't like Colleen Hoover. She's just not for me. I've read It Ends With Us. I've now read Verity. Those were the two that I was interested in. It Ends With Us, abusive relationship. Verity, just fucked up. There's this question on the internet of, are you a manuscript girly or are you like a reality girly? I'm a manuscript girly. I believe that Verity did those things, and I'm repulsed. I hated that book. I say I hated that book, but I read the whole thing. You know, like, it was captivating, and I see, this is where we get into the ennui and the minutia of writing and subjectivity, because it was gripping enough that I had to finish it, or I was repulsed enough that I had to finish it, but I didn't enjoy it and I didn't like it, but it wasn't so terrible I couldn't read it. So anyway, that's why I don't rate books, because I just get confused. So anyway, read Verity. Then I pre-ordered from the author Victor Laval, his newest book called Lone Women. And my favorite kind of book, and if you have recommendations that follow this, let me know. My favorite kind of book is a book in which the land also plays a character. Like, it plays a role. So oftentimes that means like westward expansion, frontier, Manifest Destiny books, and this fit that bill, especially where the land like rejects what's happening to it and rejects what's happening to Native culture. So Lone Women is about a woman who moves from California to Montana with a secret in a big old trunk that she carries around with her, more like she drags around with her, and then that secret gets out. And it's just kind of an adventure from there. So like, I do like a good contemporary Western. I'm gonna read Outlaws soon, or Outlawed, or whatever that book is, about the lesbian cowgirls. And then there was a book that I read about the Donner Party that I really liked, and I have another one that I just like, the Old West. And it's probably because that's where I'm from. And like, I can just really picture it. Santa Fe Trail overlook in Ford County. But you just look at that, I mean, and you can even see like man's modern touch with irrigation and that sort of thing, and like farmland, and like it's right next to a highway. But just looking at that, I go, holy shit, this is menacing. And I think just the like thought that this land that we've taken and tried to beat into compliance never will comply just really excites me. So I really liked Lone Women by Victor Laval. Now, I've kind of started a bunch of other books. I started a KU, a Kindle Unlimited romance, just like smut. I think it's called it's the Mixed Messages series, but it's like wanting to fuck your boss kind of smut. Then I started, and will continue, but put down, A Long Way to a Little Angry Planet, something like that. Also Kindle Unlimited. I'm really enjoying so far. But from the library, my loan for book lovers came in. And I have a paperback of this, and I have a paperback of Verity too. that I need to like get rid of because it's dark-sided.
She's not a Christian!
She could be a Jew and believe in
It
God.
doesn't matter. She's tampering in dark-sided stuff. Yes, she did. The entire house is dark-sided.
She said her whole house is...
She is dark-sided too!
And I have to read on this now. It's sad. It is so sad. I'm paring down my bookshelves as I go because I'm like, if you're gonna read it, bitch, you're gonna read it on your Kindle anyway. You'll get it from the library, and if you really want to read it, then you'll buy it. Like it does, you're not gonna pick it up off your shelf and read it. Because I find it disheartening. Like I looked at where I was in this book on my Kindle, which is like 10%. 10% of the paperback book feels like I've read nothing. On this, I don't know what I've read. So anyway, this came highly recommended if I wanted fluff. And so that's what I'm reading. I also had on my list The Club, which is supposed to be like a celebrity thriller. And what's that other one called? The Seventh Sunday in June. That's not possible. Next Sunday in June, something like that. I've had it for a long time. The problem with that book is that it's on my Kobo, because there for a while I was like, I am not going to support Jeffrey Bezos in any sort of way. And like, those of you who can, mad props. I can't. Because, and especially in e-reading, because the Kindle Paperwhite is just a superior product. It is the e-reader. It's the one that you need. Like they make higher value models of an e-reader, but they pale in comparison to the Kindle Paperwhite. So I then purchased a Kindle Paperwhite. I still have the Kobo, but the Kobo's been dead for a long time. And I don't, like, I like reading on it, but the Kobo, I have I think it's called the Clara 2 or something like that. But it's basically like the Kindle Basic. And the one thing I really don't like about the Kindle Basic is the beveled edge, whereas this has like a flat, the Basic has like a ridge and a dip, and the Kobo has that. And, you know, if I'm gonna spend hours of my life holding this thing, like literal hours, days, weeks of my life holding this thing, I want to enjoy the experience. So the problem with that book, 7 Days in June, I think is what it's called. It said it's on my Kobo. I do think though that I can get all my Kobo library onto my Kindle because Kobo sells their books as EPUBs, and you can email an EPUB to your Kindle. I also think I can put it through Caliber and go that route. But anyway, I am rambling this episode, and if you have stuck around, bless you. So that's what I'm reading. I also have read the entirety of the snapshot of Statistics for Dummies, which was actually the most helpful, the like little book. I also read Statistics for Dummies, and then I also bought the workbook just in case, because I was on the struggle bus, and I now feel like I have a very good grip of statistics and statistical analysis, quantitative analysis. That was the point of the class. I just would have liked to have not have suffered, okay? I don't want to get on the dissertation front yet. I have something else that I'm going to be talking about that I've been reading, but I'll talk about it when I get to my dissertation talk. Other things I've been consuming. Hey, look, it's you. Hi. Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley. There was a time when men were kind, when their voices were soft, and the world was a song, and the song was exciting. There was a time when I played Stardew Valley for 19 hours and 46 minutes. That is almost a full day, noon to noon, midnight to midnight, 3 p.m. to 3 p.m., baby. There was a time at the yarn store when everybody was playing Stardew Valley and it was like, 8-bit, gross. They can't even like program it to run the right way. Oh, was the last book I was reading Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow? I liked that book. It was 100 pages too long. Was that the last thing I told you I was reading? I think there was probably a book in between there. Anyway, and I was like, I am an Animal Crossing fan. I stan Animal Crossing. But the thing with Animal Crossing is that it just is so open. Like it's like, come cannibalize this land, colonize this land, like take its resources and then just do whatever you want. Whereas I found with Stardew Valley, having the tasks and the quests, perfect. I can come home and be so stressed out because it's the end of the school year. State testing, 3rd grade is already done. But like this point of the year in Kansas, hi Larry Berry. In Kansas elementary schools especially, we're done teaching, which is sad because we still have like a month left, 3 weeks left of school. But we've taken the state tests, and if you, and in our district, there's just they have just such a hard on for state testing. They're like that's the end game. Like we're going through a new curriculum adoption. And I was talking about it to one of my coworkers and about how excited I was because one of the problems with our current curriculum that we hear is that, oh my God, it's more of like a reading challenge than it is a math thing. And Eureka has taken that feedback, and in their Eureka Squared, their new curriculum, they've pared down the reading to just essential information. So, for example, an old word problem might have read something like, Caroline was foraging in the forest and came across 6 hedgehogs. Then 7 hedgehogs ran away. Or sure. Yeah, you can take away 7 from 6. You just have a negative number, which is fine. This is what my dissertation is about. Probably, we don't talk about Bruno, but, so anyway, there's problems in there. Multisyllabic words. What the fuck is a hedgehog if I don't live in a forest area or even know what a hedgehog is? What is foraging? Okay, so they've rewritten that word problem to say Anna, what the fuck was her name the first time? I don't know. Shannon sees 6 ducks. Then 7 ducks swim away. How many ducks are left? Wow, that is quite the philosophical conundrum for a first grader. But you get my point. Where did that other duck come from? Did I imagine it? But all that to say, my coworker was like, yeah, but that's all fine and good, but that's not how they write questions on the state test. And I was like, baby, you don't pick a curriculum for its alignment to the state test. You pick a curriculum so that you can teach your babies, okay? And in the United States, oh my God, I got on a rampage in my head this morning. Our education system is so fucked. I will just leave it at that. It is disgusting. It's for profit. It's to keep the rich rich, the poor poor, and to keep it self-sustaining. So like the culture around education is so toxic and so toxically positive that those within it are like brainwashed, essentially. Like there are so many teachers who are like, that's just how teaching is. And like, no, it's not. No, it's not. It doesn't have to be. You've just been made to believe that because it was your experience and it's been the experience that you've been taught to teach, and it doesn't have to be that way. I've been thinking a lot about this, in case you couldn't tell. My heart is in education, but I feel sick sometimes about the things that, as a public educator, I perpetuate because I have to, because I'm told to. And I guess like I don't have to, but like they make it real hard and real serious if you don't comply. And so, yeah. Anyway, was this all about Stardew Valley? Yikes. Let me talk about my dissertation and then I'm gonna leave you. So originally, well, okay, let me just say this. For those of you who've been to graduate school and have had to write a dissertation thesis, Ellie Skandeer, Dr. Deer, has talked about this a long time ago, and it always stuck with me. But there's kind of this unspoken rule that you don't talk about your dissertation, especially when you move from student to candidate. Now, I have not moved from student to candidate yet. I'm about a year away from that after I take my comprehensive boards and that kind of comprehensive exams. I don't take boards, comprehensive exams. But that whole time, you're still kind of like undulating on this idea that you had that initially you submitted to gain admission to the program. And my first iteration was explicit vocabulary teaching, and being so specific with it, because in math, like especially in English math, we use some super vague terms very broadly that becomes confusing. So originally my thesis was about that, and then I thought, oh, that's very broad and I don't want to explore the explicit instruction side of things. I am interested in the instruction side of things more than I am on the curriculum side of things, but I don't want to explore explicit instruction specifically. I'm cool with it being like an element, but not the focus. So I ditched that. Then I moved on to place value because at the beginning of this school year, my kids really struggled with place value, and they still do. And then I was like, okay, I need to really narrow this down and become super specific, because like when you enter the academy, you have to add to the voice of the body of knowledge. How pretentious is that, by the way? And so you find your niche, and that supports the greater body of knowledge. So I was like, okay, how can we this down? And so I was looking around. A lot has been done on virtual teaching now because of the pandemic. And a lot has been done about like we're failing our kids in math. And a lot has been done with English language learners. So I thought, let's combine the three. It looks like I'm doing something very rude to you, but I'm not. I love you. I'm rude to the people I love the most, probably. Take that for what it is. So then I was like, okay, let's use quantitative statistics to study if there's a correlation between how students are taught place value across different virtual learning modalities, different programs, see how, and make them English language learners, because why not? Let's just narrow it down. And then though, I've gotten a little bored with place value, I gotta say. Powers of 10, so important. Place value, the crux of our civilization. But what really boils my piss, to use a British phrase, is this idea, and by the way, boils my piss means like really just grinds my gears, is this idea that little kids cannot comprehend space, like measurable space. and that they can't comprehend negative numbers. Because in essence, negative numbers are just positive numbers, and negative and positive signs just tell us what direction to go from 0 on a number line. And so my dissertation has kind of morphed into this not place value, number lines and subtraction thingy, because, and I was gonna give you an example, but I don't have a writing utensil nearby, nor do I have a piece of paper. So I'm making videos for our district's math week, so I might put that on this channel too. But I found what I think is like the perfect convergence of place value and number lines in subtracting 2-digit numbers from 2-digit numbers. And you know, when we use a standard algorithm, which we have misconstrued that word so much because an algorithm refers to a process and not necessarily the understanding, right? Or it doesn't refer to the understanding. It refers to the process, the sequence of steps. And there's a good definition in here. I'm gonna continue to talk while I look for it because it's in the introduction. But okay, at this time, a key term began to circulate persistently among mathematicians: algorithm, a word which denoted not so much an abstract formula as an actual process. This process needed to unfold in a finite number of steps for an initial set of data to find an outcome in space and time according to the modalities predicted by a machine, okay? This is my shit, okay? Okay. The thing I love most about math is it is a description and a human invention to describe nature, to describe the space around us. And you can call that God, you can call that nature, you can call that the world, you can call it whatever. But humans had to develop this language of mathematics and develop an understanding. Like, they had to say, this is so vast and so indescribable and unexplainable that we have to pare it down step by step to truly understand it. And what has happened is we have skewed so far now into just understanding those steps and not so much the big picture of like, what is this saying? So take subtraction for instance. What a lot of my kids do is they say takeaway. And yes, in this mindset of positive numbers are visible, are things that you have, things that you can hold, whatever, in a very childlike sense. Tangible, they're tangible. Sure, we can think of subtraction as taking away. But what I boil all my math practice and teaching down to is, what is this expression? What is this word problem? What are these numbers saying to you? What is the story it's trying to tell to you? And when we look at subtraction, the actual like subtraction sign, we also use it as a negative sign. So there's like a relationship there. And what that relationship is it just tells you on what side of 0 this number or the direction you should head. Or yeah, I think that's better than what side of 0. When we're talking about integers, it's fine to say what side of 0, but when we're talking about like algorithms and procedures, it tells you what direction to go. Addition tells you go to the right on a number line. Subtraction tells you go to the left, because numbers are not fixed. Numbers are a representation of equal amounts of space from 0. So if we take like 27, and in the algorithm we say 27, and I'm gonna try my best to put like a graphic here, but if we have 27 minus 14, what that is telling me, one interpretation that you can tell is 27 whole numbers, take away 14 whole numbers. 14 is smaller than 27, so I will still have a whole number. But if we read more into the understanding of this and what this is, what this denotes, it's telling us that you're going to be moving a quantity of 14 spaces to the left of this number. What was it? 27. And that is so powerful when it comes to number sense and calculation and all these things that we want kids to have, to be able to think about numbers so that they can get their procedural and computational knowledge down, so that by the time that they get to trigonometry, they don't even have to think about a times table. But we don't, we just focus on the algorithm and the steps. And that's part of the reason why things are so fucked up. And like that stems from the whole like American education currently is set up in a way that benefits the capital, and benefits wealth. And like our system wasn't built and wasn't created to perpetuate innovation or thinking. It was created to perpetuate compliance. And that's real fucked up. So in everything I do, I try to fight that. But like that's what literally everything centers around in American education, is compliance. And how are you going to contribute to society? Like, in what world does a third grader need to think about career? But in Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools, do you know what our curriculum and instruction department just changed its name to? Diploma Plus in Instruction. Diploma Plus is a career and college readiness program that we use. And I think that speaks volumes to our priorities here, is that our literal curriculum is focused around how can you contribute when you leave here, and how are we going to train you to do that? Train, not learn, not teach, train. I'm getting very worked up about this. But anyway, one thing I want to show folks, because one method we use when we're doing subtraction, and I showed the kids this and they didn't understand it because they don't understand number lines, because they were never taught the importance of number lines and space. Like they have this very small understanding of numbers, where numbers are fixed quantities and nothing else. A 7 is a 7. To get 7, I can add a 5, which is a 5, and a 2, which is a 2, and get a 7. Or I can add a 3, which is a 3, and a 4, which is a 4, and get a 7. Or a 6 and a 1. You get the point. Like, those are ways that you get to 7. They don't think of it as those are the parts of 7, and you can manipulate those numbers however you need to make understanding of it. So like in our 2-step, or in our 2-digit by 2-digit subtraction example, let's say I have 24 take away 19, or subtract 19. In a traditional algorithm stacked, we would have to go over what we used to call borrowing, we now call regrouping, which lots of you probably don't understand how it works. You just know to take from your neighbor and put a 1. That relates back to place value. But anyway, you'd have to borrow, right? And then subtract, and then subtract again, and you get this number. But, and we had to borrow because of that 9, right? And you can't take 9 away from 4. Bitch, yes you can, you just get -5. Okay? It's a number just like 5. It's identical to 5. It's just a reflection. Okay? But to make that easy to compute, where we don't have to do the regrouping, I can add 1 to each number, because what that statement is saying is, it's not saying take this fixed set and subtract this fixed set away from it. What it's saying is describe the difference of space between this set and this set. And when we look at it that way, it makes total and complete sense to say, well, if I add 1 to 19 to make it 20, And if all I'm looking for is the difference, it doesn't really matter what the numbers are as long as they stay within that same interval. So what was it, 24 subtract 19? I make 1920 and 2425, and I still get that difference of 5. It just moved space along that number line. It didn't, like the number had nothing, the difference had nothing to do with the quantity. It had everything to do with the space. And so that's what my dissertation is about. I don't fucking know. I can't explain it. When I tried to explain it to my stats professor, he was like, so you're talking about like multiplanar number lines? And I was like, fuck if I know. So anyway, we don't talk about Bruno. I don't know what my dissertation is going to be about, but it's going to be about that. Okay. Part of that, and I was going to read an excerpt from this, but I have almost 2 hours of footage now. So this book I am loving. I picked it up at a thrift store. Okay, no, not a thrift store. I picked it up at not half price. What's the one in Wichita? Bookaholic. Not my favorite store to go to, but there was this book in the math and science section, which I always hit up when I'm there, just to see, because like part of being a researcher is knowing the history of things. So, and just knowing things about math and science. So this is called The Mathematics of the Gods and the Algorithms of Men. And I picked this up and I thought, this is exactly what I get passionate about, because refer back to my whole like impassioned speech about we had to create this system to explain the world around us because we couldn't comprehend it any other way. And anyway, this is a cultural history by Paolo Zellini. It's translated from Italian. He's a professor of mathematics at the University of Rome, where his research focuses on numerical analysis and the evolution of mathematical thought. He is the author of the international bestseller, A Brief History of Infinity. Paolo lives in Rome. And you better believe I wrote down A Brief History of Infinity, because set theory is something that blows my fucking mind. And anyway, I read the introduction of this book and I cried. I cried because, oh baby, he gets to the good meat and potatoes. He gets to the good meat and potatoes about how this thing that we live on, the space that we inhabit, is so perfect. And we can use this system to describe how perfect it is that we made up. But our system isn't perfect enough to fully describe it. That's why we have things like infinity and set theory and that kind of thing. And oh my God. It's just what makes me get up in the morning and make fun of me all you want. But that's why I'm getting a doctorate. That's why people do those things. Like, can I just read about it on the internet? Yes. But I also want to contribute and dig into it. And unfortunately, in this country, to be able to do that, you got to be a part of the academy, which is shitty. And really, that's kind of that way in the whole world. So maybe my life's purpose will be bringing this stuff to you through a knitting podcast that is now almost 2 hours long. Fire. I have Doritos off camera that I'd like to eat. I'm gonna make a frozen bird's eye voila dinner. Do you know about these? You put them in the skillet. Again, thought that was a person. We're gonna have to do something about this. Put it in a skillet for 10 minutes. So good. Thank you for watching. Who knows if there's gonna be editing. As I'm talking, I think of these really funny things that I can edit in, so there probably will be editing. So be nice, be good, as Sandy Pierre would say, go and be brilliant, and have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, night, whatever time of day it is. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you later.